Hi guys. So today is Thursday and we've just finished a 4-week run of doing 2C-B every weekend, which has been mostly fine, but I thought I'd do a video about it because, I don't know, I had read online on Reddit and stuff, people saying that they did 2C-B like 3 days in a row, 4 days in a row, and it was fine. I probably put too much stock in that, to be fair, because there are also people who say they take pills like 2 or 3 days in a row and that's fine, and it clearly isn't. So probably I should have looked into it a bit more, but I thought seems okay. And I've never really felt much in the way of like after effects from doing it. 2C-B, I mean, other than the one thing we've had fairly consistently is feeling very tired afterwards. But it always just seemed, by the time it got to the next weekend, it seemed like, yeah, okay, it's fine to do it again. One of the reasons for it as well is because we weigh it volumetrically, we dose it volumetrically in water, there's always like an extra dose left, so it's sort of easier to do it in even numbers. And then there were various different occasions where we decided we were going to do it, and so it ended up just kind of circumstantially ended up that we did it 4 weekends in a row. And we had decided after the third one, we were like, right, we'll finish this off for the next weekend, and then we just won't take any more for a while. And I'm kind of glad. I'm glad to be having a break from it, to be honest. It's not addictive or anything. We haven't felt addicted to it at all. It's not a thing where we felt really compelled to do it. It really genuinely has been like just kind of circumstantial. It's not even, it's a thing we easily could have done without, but we just sort of had it and we were like, fuck it, like while we've got time off, let's just get rid of it and whatever. Considering we've done it 4 weeks in a row, I mean, there's not really been any major downsides to it. The after effects haven't been particularly pronounced, and it seems fairly easily tolerated. And I would, if I, for example, take like too much, not that I do this anymore, but like MDMA, I did a video a while back about doing MDMA twice in like 1 month or something, or twice in a 6-week period or something like that, and that was noticeable. And even after the first one, I had some very noticeable after effects. Like, it's not something I would, I feel like after years of sort of drug abuse, my brain is quite sensitive to it, so I can quite easily have like a really bad come down or feel really depressed after taking something, which is why I don't really take a lot of drugs anymore. I avoid any hard drugs or anything really that I think will make me feel like bad or be addictive or anything. So I definitely do notice it if I have something and it has a bad effect on me. And yeah, all I ever really noticed from 2C-B was tiredness. My girlfriend's been having trouble sleeping. Like every sort of week following taking it, she would just sort of midweek have trouble sleeping. So at the moment she's quite sleep deprived, which is another reason we're glad to be taking a break. And I would say I've felt probably not great, but not in a way that could only be ascribed to taking drugs, if you know what I mean. Like, I've felt probably for the last 2 weeks just a bit less than ideal, just a bit funny maybe, in a way that I could just feel sometimes, if I hadn't been like getting outside enough or I hadn't been sleeping that well or whatever, just that kind of feeling, just a little bit like, not great. Bit of anxiety here and there, not really depressed or angry or anything, fine in that regard. Maybe just tiny bit stressed, not super relaxed, and that's about it. But I've also just felt that my brain has been a bit tired, like something has been kind of depleted or used up in some way by these experiences. I don't know. When was it? 5 days ago or 6 days ago or whenever it was, we did the last dose of it, And it was a good night, actually. We had fun for the most part, kind of, but definitely had that feeling, like a feeling I've had before, back when I used to overdo things more, where you think of it like a sponge, and like all the liquid has been sort of wrung out of the sponge, and your brain is trying to like wring this sponge, and I feel like my head gets tired. I can feel it in my head. It's almost like my brain is dehydrated or something. And that was the feeling when we last did it. It was still an okay night. It was quite good, but definitely there was a tolerance and a feeling of like, man, I wouldn't want to do this again. I wouldn't want to do it 5 weekends in a row, for example. I know doing it 4 weekends in a row is probably not advisable at all. It's probably not a sensible thing to do. But of all the drugs you could do it with, I'd say this would be one of the less harmful ones to do that with. So yeah, generally it's been fine. But I would probably wait 2 to 4 weeks in between sessions, like in future. In terms of the benefits, it's funny because in a way, I felt physically, I felt more kind of physical anxiety and stress, or just a little bit like shaky, a bit kind of, I would say nervous would be a better word. I've been doing I'm still doing all the driving shit. It's almost finished now, I think, but I'm still learning to drive, and after like this week, my first class was on Tuesday, quite soon. We did the 2C-B on the Saturday, and I felt quite like just kind of shaky. My Spanish was coming out all fucked up, and I felt a bit nervous. So from that point of view, it was definitely inducing some anxiety. But then on the other side, it was kind of the experiences themselves were quite like therapeutic in a way, and in a fairly conventional sort of psychedelic way. In terms of confronting various anxieties and fears and ideas, and maybe feeling them quite pronouncedly, during the trips, and then kind of feeling like better about them the following days. So in terms of serious anxiety, big stuff, and worrying about, life's problems and this and that, I think it's been pretty helpful. I think it's been helpful from a sort of perspective broadening point of view. Maybe not the fourth one. I would say the first 3, were. The fourth one, I think, yeah, as I say, was just a bit tiring. But in general, yeah, I feel it's been productive. If it, I guess you could say this about a lot of drugs, if it came without the chemical side effects, it would be more productive. Like MDMA, right? If you could do MDMA and it just left your system and there was nothing, you just had the experience and that was it, and then you went completely back to normal. Maybe you would overdo the experience and it would lose its meaning, and you would just take it. I guess you'd want to just be on it every day, but regardless, like, if it weren't for that, if you just did it, say, once every 3 months you took MDMA and you didn't get any of the negative after effects, the chemical aspect of it, you just had the experiential, if that's a word, aspect of it, you would, that is a word, experiential, yeah. You would, it would be great. You would feel, you wouldn't have a come down, you wouldn't be depressed, and you'd have all of this perspective broadening, positive experience to draw from. So I guess it's the same with maybe not all drugs. I guess you couldn't apply that to sort of like egoic experiences like cocaine. Even if there was no chemical downside to that, it would probably just turn you into a knob, really, like feeling like that every weekend. You would just become a knob, really. But which happens. That is what happens. There's a very specific type of knob as well who you meet, and a lot of their behaviour, whether they're on it or off it at the time, can be explained by cocaine, and the culture surrounding it, and the sort of just the lifestyle and everything surrounding it. But yeah, I guess there's still a tiny sort of twinge of me that does miss those drugs once in a while, coke and amphetamines and stuff. I've been really into like Oasis recently, like not so much the music, just the sort of lore surrounding Oasis. I really like Oasis. I really like them, you know, the brothers, the Gallagher brothers. And even prior to hearing they got back together, but I've been saying for ages they would get back together. I knew they would get back together, and I think they got back together like a long time ago, and they've just been milking it to generate press. Let me tell you, sorry, I don't know if you can hear that high-pitched ringing noise. The electricity is done so badly in all the apartments here that anytime you plug in like speakers or monitors or anything, you get these crazy noises. But I think they're like two middle-aged men who haven't had like a big hit song in decades, and somehow they're still so popular and people care so much about their reunion. And I think that's obviously how anthemic and like popular and brilliant some of their songs were, but also the brotherly dynamic I think is just fascinating to people, and just they're contrasting but also kind of similar personalities. They're just fascinating for some reason, to me at least anyway. For some people obviously think they're dickheads, but I kind of knew they would get back together, and I thought I think they agreed this probably like a year or more ago, especially once Liam started doing pretty good tunes on his own. I think probably sometime after his last album they were like, yeah, let's just keep talking about it in the press for a bit. And anyway, so I've been looking at a lot of stuff about them, and when I remember a lot of my own drug use, it's like a bad vibe, you know, and I think like oh, it's, you know, it's just a lot of it. Some of it I remember fondly, but a lot of it I just think, oh, I don't want to go back to that life. But then I hear, you know, I listen to like old Oasis stories and stuff, or watch things about them, and I think, oh man, I start getting that feeling again, like I really want to get on it, you know. And it's not that I will, but it makes me nostalgic for a lifestyle I never had, you know. I was reading about the time when they accidentally took meth. I don't know if it was accidentally. Their story seems to change a lot about that. But Liam and some of the other members took meth, and Noel didn't. And it was this famous gig they had that was like a huge disaster. And Noel left the band after, and was gonna just end the band, not kill himself. And I was just thinking, it's kind of funny that like Liam took meth and he didn't become like a psychotic pervert or anything. He just was trying to start on everyone and like just being like confrontational and just like fucking mad for it, you know, and just like, I just feel like there's a simplicity to him that like he can, you know, doesn't get into weird spaces doing drugs, and I know they both like obviously took too much and had problems as a result, and I don't think either of them take like hard drugs anymore. I don't think Noel does anyway, but there's like a kind of it just seemed like a simpler time and a simpler way of doing drugs, and like kind of good simple fun, even though obviously like they had problems and got into dark places and stuff. I know that, but there's something about the sort of simplicity of it, and it being the 90s and them just like doing shows and going crazy and getting drunk and being sort of wild men, and that's so appealing as just an idea, not even just as a, you know, thing to experience. And again, is part of why people like them so much. So I still have that feeling sometimes, like, oh man, yeah, I kind of miss stuff like that, but I also don't, because it's a one-way street, really. It doesn't really go anywhere other than to a particular place that, you know, most people who go down that street end up stuck in to varying degrees, you know, like, if that makes sense. There's not a turning, you know, where you sort of you go off and you go, oh, I've done enough cocaine that now everything is incredible and I have the perfect life. It doesn't really work like that. You either sort of stop and get out the car and walk backwards along the pavement, or you just keep going and you end up at that place that, you know, most people end up at, and you might go there at a reasonable pace, or you might just, like, you know, slam into someone's drive through someone's front garden and crash through their like living room wall like Tony Adams did. And yeah, that was booze. But I get the feeling that, not necessarily in his case, in Tony Adams' case, but I think that a lot of the time alcoholism is a euphemism for cocaine addiction. And when celebrities talk about going to rehab for alcohol, they're really going to rehab for cocaine, because most cokeheads are alcoholics, and a lot of alcoholics, especially younger ones in certain environments and with money, are also cokeheads. So it's I think people don't like to say they're taking cocaine, because that's a bad name. Anyway, yeah, so what was I fucking saying? Yeah, so from that point of view, it was cool. It's been fun and not addictive or fiendish, and it's not something you sort of like redose or anything. So it's just nice, nice to take it home and hang out. Sometimes, confronting different anxieties, not in the intense way that I find happens on like shrooms and things, where you really get deep into your, psyche. Thankfully, it depends, different. It depends on the day, it's different things are good for different occasions, but we've mostly just wanted to hang out and watch stupid stuff and, just like have fun. So that's all. I would say, I think it's something that, it's not addictive anyway, so it's not something that you really would have to worry about most of the time doing too much. I think it would only really be like just being a bit stupid, like we were just kind of thinking, oh, well, I feel fine, I'll just do it again. It's not something I think that has much abuse potential, I don't know. So generally, yeah, if there was a reason to do so, I would do it 2 weekends in a row again, perhaps. Maybe not 3, definitely not 4. I wouldn't want to do it 4 weekends in a row. There wouldn't really be a good reason. I don't know what the reason would be for that. There wasn't even really a reason this time. It was just like, well, we have it in the fridge and we've got this like cake. And for some reason we like taking 2C-B and eating cakes. So there's not a reason per se, but just a sort of strange logic to it. Speaking of all of this stuff, seems like a lot of the research chemicals have been banned, which is kind of sad to me, because some of them, like benzofurans, appear to be less neurotoxic than MDMA, at least subjectively. Like for me, it's night and day. I've taken 5-MePB quite a few times. The only time I ever had a bad come down was when it was during the first lockdown, and we were in a bad situation, man. We were in a dark place, and we were living in a flat share with these horrible people who were just bullying us. It was really weird because we'd just moved to Spain, and we were like foreign, and only time as an adult, that we've been like bullied. It was really bad when we were just like, it's a terrible situation. And schoolyard stuff, except there was lockdown and we were trapped and there was no lock on our door, and we just really wanted to get out and move out, and we didn't have the money because of everything, because of lockdown, and because we just didn't have it. We couldn't get jobs because we couldn't leave. So it was really bad. And we did it then, and we did it one weekend. We did it on a Friday. We did some 5-MePB, and then because it makes you so tired, we went to sleep. And then we woke up and we felt a bit like, oh, we fell asleep really early last night. We felt a bit shit about having it because we thought we didn't really finish our night. So we started taking it again the next day and drinking. We did 5-MePB 2 days in a row with drinking, and with only like a 3 or 4 hour sleep in between. And that was a very bad come down. That was being in there with those people. That was a very, very dark time. And that was the only time really, though. I've done it, from what I remember, I've done it quite a few times and never had any real negative effects from it. And apart from just being tired, it just makes you tired, which is weird. But yeah, it seems so much easier on your brain than MDMA. And, you know, when they ban these things, you're not going to just go, oh, I'll just never take drugs again. You know, it doesn't work like that. So in my mind, I'm immediately thinking, oh, well, so the research chemicals are off the table. So what will I replace them with? And it won't be something as clean or safe or pure or easy on your brain as that. So what has been achieved? Nothing. Like, it's achieved absolutely nothing. I'm not someone who thinks like everything should be legal. And I understand, like, to some degree, I understand some of the arguments, even when it comes to research chemicals, which I think are relatively safe. I understand if people, you know, young people are ordering these things in the post and some of them are dying or overdosing and stuff, it's very hard for a government to say, yeah, but this is the lesser of two evils or whatever. I understand that it's like, you know, but I think there is like a sort of bold step we need to make, but it's also short term. The thinking around everything in politics and law enforcement is so short term. I worry that we're never really going to get there. But to me, it seems obvious. I think I was talking about this with someone in the comments the other day, but they need to they should, if there was like various different drugs for various different occasions that were legal, that fulfilled different roles, that were kind of the lesser of however many evils there are in that drug category, it would greatly diminish the black market and the need for it, because you just wouldn't bother. Like, for example, you know, I can't think of a good comparison, but so if lots of types of alcohol were illegal, but you could still get, say, like vodka, rum, beer, red wine, and what's that shit that tastes like licorice? Sambuca. These 5 things were legal, right? Maybe you really like whiskey or white wine or some other thing. Some people would, of course, illegally buy whiskey and white wine. They would just say, no, fuck you, I'm having it. Fine, that would happen. But most people would just adjust their preferences and say, there's different booze for different occasions. I can have a beer when I'm at the pub. I can have wine when I'm at home. I can have, you know, gin, whatever it is that I said, when I want to get like hammered. And that's enough. I don't really need to venture into the black market. And some people would, fine, but the black market, it wouldn't be like prohibition. It wouldn't be like, you know, trying to suppress this huge demand. For the most part, that first, I guess, not hunger, would be satiated. And it's not first though, is it? You don't drink alcohol because you're thirsty. Oh, I'm so thirsty. Let me have a nice drink of whiskey to quench my thirst. That'll work. There's a really funny bit in The Room where he's like saying how he doesn't drink, and in one of the early scenes, his wife, who's like, this is meant to be this like really evil woman, she gets him to drink, and she makes what appears to be whiskey and vodka mixed into just literally just whiskey and vodka, and he doesn't drink. He's never had a drink before, and he has it, and he's like, this tastes good. And it's like, no, it doesn't. Even if you're a seasoned drinker, whiskey and vodka doesn't taste nice. But if you've never had a drink before in your life and someone gave you whiskey mixed with vodka, you would fucking throw it in their face. It would be disgusting. It is disgusting. And he's like, tastes good. No, that's not possible. Even if you'd never had a beer before, even if you were like 50 years old having your first beer, you'd think this tastes like shit, really, you know. Probably, but certainly a whiskey vodka, no way. Anyway, I feel like that's what they need to do. If you could get, for example, 5-MePB or something like the borax combo, you know, it's 5-MePB mixed with other things, weed, obviously, you know, something. I don't know. I haven't thought it through to this extent, but you know, something that fulfilled different, something you could kind of do at home, something to get you a bit stimulated, something to do on a night out, something. And in each of those categories, they chose something that was, you know, the lesser of many evils. And I think this would be a very, very process of very gradual exposure, obviously, and have to be managed so carefully. I do believe that, because like people can just get so out of hand with drugs, and the excitement of them being suddenly legal would be too much for a lot of people, I think. And ultimately, even if that's better than the alternative, you still have that responsibility as the person who's made that decision, and it's a tough thing to put on someone, on a leader, or on a political party, or whatever, on a society. But if they did that, I think sooner or later they would just be like, why would you bother buying illegal drugs when you can just buy this? You just think, fuck it, like, yeah, I might prefer this or that, I might prefer a bigger dose, but I can't be asked to break the law. I can just get these pills that are not quite the same as an MDMA pill, but I can literally just buy it from a shop, and I don't have to worry about the dealers or getting in trouble or any of this. And then they would have a stronger case to come down quite harshly on people who sold things or whatever. But when it's like, no, there's this world of experience out there, it can be so like mind-blowing and amazing and perspective broadening and beneficial and just fun, in a way that alcohol is for some people but isn't for others. And obviously it's like extremely destructive, alcohol, and it causes a lot more problems than most drugs. It's not as bad as your fentanyls and your crystal meths, but apart from that, alcohol is up there with anything in terms of harm. The amount of harm it causes societally, the amount of like abuse and car accidents and murders, cheating, if you can manage that when you're drunk. But the amount of stuff, the bad things caused by it, it's crazy. Has a lot of positive aspects too, a lot of benefits. But it's just there's all this stuff that we all know about, and they're like, nope, just alcohol and coffee. That's all you're allowed. Don't even think about anything else. And if you try and find a way of getting around it, you find a way of doing it safely, we're going to ban that as well, and fuck off, discussion's over. And it's like, it's just brutal. It's just sort of like brutish behaviour from the powers that be. So anyway, all of these things seem to be gone, which is fucking sad, really, because it's clearly the lesser of two evils. And I felt the same about the dark web. I understand I'm not someone saying, oh, just let the dark web exist, let the markets exist or whatever, but officially, but I feel like unofficially they could kind of say this is actually probably kind of a good thing, because it's keeping a lot of this activity off the streets, and we should focus most of our efforts elsewhere and not try really hard to bring this thing down, because of the in real life market and the online market, the one where there's like a feedback system and there's anonymity and where there's no violence involved directly in the transactions. I'm sure there is behind the scenes sometimes. That's clearly the lesser of two evils. So let's just focus like all our attention on this and kind of, for the time being, sort of ignore this. And I feel like with research chemicals, it could be the same thing. If they were logical about it, they would just see like, okay, all the people who take research chemicals, they're not going to suddenly straighten up and go sober because of that. Maybe they were. Someone actually, I think, said that. Someone I was speaking to on here the other day did actually say that, funnily enough. But I assume you were joking when you said that, or that if you weren't joking, I don't know if. I'm not sure if a research chemical ban is enough to make a person just go sober. In most cases, anyway. So yeah, that's all. I've been getting into CBD flower as well. I don't know if any of you guys are into this. I bought some large bags of CBD flower shake. We've been smoking it and making it into oils and stuff. And smoking it. It's not psychoactive. It doesn't get you high. I've just been smoking it in the hopes of like having some sort of anti-inflammatory, like relaxing effect from the CBD, maybe improved sleep, and just for the novelty of smoking something. That's been all right. You can grow it as well. You can grow it legally here. So I might start growing some CBD plants and becoming one of those nauseating CBD people. More on that in future, perhaps. That's all anyway. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you're well.